Marcus wiped the sweat from his forehead as he guided his hoverplow across the red soil of Kepler 442b. The twin suns hung low in the purple sky, casting long shadows across his modest farm. He had been working this land for 15 years, ever since the first wave of human colonists arrived on this distant world. The communication device on his belt crackled to life. "All settlers, this is Colony Command. We have detected an unidentified craft entering our atmosphere. Please remain in your homes until further notice." Marcus stopped his plow and looked up at the sky. A streak of silver light cut through the evening air, followed by a thunderous crash that shook the ground beneath his feet. Smoke rose from somewhere beyond the ridge that bordered his property. Against all common sense, Marcus climbed onto his all-terrain vehicle and headed toward the crash site. As a former military engineer, curiosity often got the better of him. The ride took 20 minutes across rough terrain, dodging the strange purple trees that dotted the landscape. What he found defied explanation. The crashed ship was unlike anything in human design. Its surface seemed to shift between metallic silver and deep black, as if it were alive. Strange symbols glowed along its hull, pulsing like a heartbeat. The vessel was roughly cylindrical, about 50 meters long, and buried nose first in the rocky ground. As Marcus approached, a section of the hull dissolved like liquid mercury, revealing an opening. From within came a sound that made his blood run cold, a low, rumbling growl that seemed to vibrate through his bones. A creature emerged from the wreckage. It stood nearly 3 meters tall, with a body that seemed part reptile, part machine. Its scales shimmered with the same color-changing property as the ship. 4 powerful legs supported a muscular torso, while 2 smaller arms ended in hands that looked surprisingly human. But it was the head that truly amazed Marcus, elongated like a dragon from ancient Earth legends, with intelligent golden eyes that seemed to pierce right through him. The creature was badly injured. Dark blue fluid leaked from several wounds along its side, and one of its legs barely supported its weight. It collapsed near the ship's entrance, breathing heavily. Marcus knew he should run. He should call Colony Command and let the military handle this. Instead, he found himself moving closer. The dragon-like being's eyes focused on him, and for a moment, Marcus thought he was about to become its final meal. But instead of aggression, he saw something unexpected in those golden eyes: intelligence, pain, and perhaps most surprising of all, curiosity. The creature made a sound, almost like it was trying to communicate. It pointed at its wounds, then at Marcus, tilting its head in a gesture that seemed universal, a request for help. Marcus had treated injured animals on his farm countless times. The anatomy was different, but the basic principles remained the same. He returned to his vehicle and retrieved his medical supplies, designed for both humans and Earth livestock he had brought to this world. Working slowly and carefully, he began to clean the creature's wounds. The dragon being remained perfectly still, watching him with those remarkable eyes. Its blood was indeed blue, and it clotted similarly to human blood. Marcus applied antiseptic and began bandaging the worst of the injuries. As he worked, the creature made soft sounds that almost sounded like gratitude. When Marcus finished, it touched his shoulder gently with one of its smaller hands. The contact sent a strange, tingling sensation through his body, and suddenly, images flashed in his mind. He saw vast cities among the stars, beautiful and alien. He saw fleets of the color-changing ships traveling between worlds. And he saw war, terrible battles against machines that looked like twisted metal insects, destroying everything in their path. The connection lasted only seconds, but when it ended, Marcus understood. This creature was a refugee fleeing from some galactic conflict. Its ship was damaged beyond repair, and it was stranded on Kepler 442b. The dragon being gestured toward the ship, making more sounds. Marcus couldn't understand the language, but the meaning was clear. The ship was dying, and so was its pilot without proper care. As the first of the twin suns set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. He helped the wounded creature to its feet and guided it toward his vehicle. "My name is Marcus," he said, pointing to himself. The creature tilted its head, then touched its own chest. It made a complex sound that Marcus couldn't hope to pronounce. "I'll call you Kai," Marcus said, remembering the old Earth word for ocean. The creature's scales reminded him of deep water, constantly shifting and changing. Kai seemed to approve of the name, making what might have been a purring sound. As they drove back toward the farm, Marcus wondered what he was getting himself into. The colony's military would be searching for the crashed ship soon. Hiding an alien refugee would be considered treason by many. But looking at Kai's intelligent eyes and remembering the images of destruction, Marcus knew he couldn't abandon this being to an uncertain fate. The adventure of a lifetime was just beginning. Marcus converted his barn's storage room into a makeshift shelter for Kai. He moved hay bales to create a hidden space behind the main area, complete with soft bedding and access to water. The transformation took most of the night, but by morning, no casual observer would suspect anything unusual. Kai proved to be a remarkable patient. The alien's wounds healed faster than Marcus thought possible, and within 3 days, the dragon being was moving around without difficulty. But more impressive than the physical recovery was Kai's intelligence. The creature learned human gestures with startling speed. Within a week, Kai could communicate basic needs and concepts through a combination of hand signals and simple drawings in the dirt. The alien showed Marcus how to mix a paste from local plants that accelerated healing and demonstrated techniques for preserving food that were far superior to human methods. "You're a scientist," Marcus said one morning as he watched Kai examine soil samples with makeshift tools crafted from farm equipment. "Or maybe an engineer like me." Kai looked up and made the gesture they had established for yes, a slow nod combined with touching the chest with the smaller hands. The real test came on the 8th day when Colony Command arrived. 3 military vehicles approached the farm, kicking up clouds of red dust. Marcus had been expecting this visit, but his heart still raced as he watched Captain Elena Rodriguez climb out of the lead vehicle. "Morning, Marcus," she said, her expression serious. "We need to search your property." "What for?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his voice casual. "We tracked debris from the unknown vessel to this area. The crash site was empty when we found it, but our scanners detected unusual energy signatures. We need to make sure you're safe." Marcus led the search team around his property, careful to avoid the barn. The soldiers were thorough but respectful, understanding that Marcus was a respected member of the colony. They found nothing suspicious in the main house or the fields. "We'll need to check your storage buildings," Rodriguez said as they approached the barn. Inside the barn, Kai remained perfectly hidden behind the hay bales. The soldiers searched the main area, their handheld scanners beeping occasionally as they detected normal farm equipment. Marcus held his breath as one soldier approached the hay storage area. A loud crash echoed from outside, followed by the panicked lowing of cattle. "Sounds like your cattle got loose," Rodriguez said, turning toward the noise. Marcus rushed outside to find his small herd scattered across the farmyard, apparently spooked by something. It took 20 minutes to round them up, by which time the soldiers seemed eager to move on to the next property. After the military vehicles disappeared over the horizon, Marcus returned to the barn. Kai emerged from hiding, and Marcus noticed scratch marks on the barn's back wall, marks that hadn't been there that morning. "You created the distraction," Marcus said in amazement. Kai made the yes gesture, then drew a simple picture in the dirt showing soldiers walking away from a barn. That evening, as they shared dinner in the barn, Kai began to teach Marcus about the galaxy beyond their small world. Using drawings and gestures, the alien explained that space was full of different species, most living in peace and cooperation. But mechanical invaders called the Devourers had appeared from beyond the galaxy's edge, consuming everything in their path. Kai's people, the Zephyrians, were among the last free races still fighting the machines. The dragon being had been on a reconnaissance mission when Devourer ships damaged its vessel, forcing an emergency landing on the nearest habitable world. "How long until they find you here?" Marcus asked. Kai drew 3 circles in the dirt, then pointed at the sky. 3 months, Marcus guessed. Over the following weeks, an extraordinary partnership developed. Marcus taught Kai about human farming techniques and earth customs, while Kai shared knowledge that revolutionized the farm's productivity. The alien showed him how to modify soil composition for better crop yields, how to predict weather patterns using subtle atmospheric changes, and how to build tools from local materials that were stronger than anything in the colony's stores. But Kai's greatest gift was the neural link they had shared that first night. With practice, they learned to communicate complex ideas through brief mental connections. Marcus discovered that Kai's full name was something like Kaitharenvlash, which roughly meant singer of the deep currents in the Zephyrian language. Through these connections, Marcus learned about Zephyrian culture. They were natural empaths, able to sense the emotions and intentions of other beings. This ability made them excellent diplomats and mediators among the galaxy's many species, but it also made them vulnerable to the cold, mechanical minds of the Devourers. 1 month after Kai's arrival, the communication device crackled with an urgent message from Colony Command. All settlers, please report any unusual atmospheric disturbances or strange lights in the sky. Our deep space monitors have detected multiple unidentified objects approaching the system. Marcus and Kai exchanged worried looks. The Devourers had found them. That night, Kai showed Marcus images through their mental link, vast mechanical ships that looked like predatory insects, converting entire planets into raw materials for their expansion. The machines didn't negotiate or show mercy. They simply consumed everything in their path. The colony doesn't stand a chance, Marcus said, watching the terrifying images play in his mind. Kai made a complex gesture that Marcus had learned meant not necessarily. The dragon being began drawing in the dirt, showing the layout of the colony and the surrounding terrain. Using marks and symbols, Kai outlined a defensive strategy that utilized the planet's unique geological features. But first, they needed to convince the colony's leadership to trust an alien refugee. As the twin suns set on another day, Marcus realized their quiet partnership was about to become something much larger. The fate of human civilization on Kepler 442b might depend on whether people could accept help from an unexpected ally. The next morning, Marcus would have to make the hardest decision of his life: reveal Kai's existence to the colony and risk everything on the chance that humans and Zephyrians could work together against a common enemy. Looking at his alien friend, Marcus felt a mixture of fear and determination. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The emergency sirens wailed across New Geneva at dawn, their haunting sound echoing off the prefabricated buildings of the human colony. Marcus stood at his kitchen window, watching transport ships streak across the sky as the military mobilized for an unknown threat. His communication device buzzed with an urgent message from Captain Rodriguez. All civilian engineers report to Colony Command immediately. This is not a drill. Marcus looked toward the barn where Kai was hidden. The time for secrecy was over. We're doing this, he said to himself, then activated his comm. Rodriguez, this is Marcus. I'm coming in and I'm bringing someone you need to meet. An hour later, Marcus walked through the doors of Colony Command with Kai beside him. The dragon being had reluctantly agreed to reveal himself, understanding that the approaching Devourer fleet left no choice. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Guards raised their weapons, scientists scrambled for recording equipment, and Administrator Chen nearly fell from his chair. Captain Rodriguez stood slowly, her hand hovering over her sidearm. Marcus, she said carefully, step away from that thing. That thing has a name, Marcus replied firmly. This is Kai, and he's here to help us survive what's coming. Through their mental link, Kai projected calm confidence into Marcus's mind. The dragon being remained perfectly still, making no threatening moves despite the weapons pointed at him. Sir, Rodriguez said to Administrator Chen, should I place them both under arrest? Chen, a thin man in his 60s who had led the colony for a decade, studied Kai with scientific curiosity overriding his fear. Lower your weapons, he ordered. If Marcus trusts this being, we should at least listen. Marcus stepped forward. 3 months ago, an advanced scout from a species called the Devourers damaged Kai's ship. These machines are coming to strip our planet of all resources, including us. Kai's people have been fighting them for years. How do we know this isn't some elaborate invasion plan? Demanded Colonel Santos, the colony's military commander. Kai stepped forward and touched the nearest computer terminal. The screen flickered, then displayed detailed star charts showing the Devourer fleet's approach vector, ship specifications, and tactical analysis. How did it do that? Whispered Dr. Sarah Kim, the colony's chief scientist. Zephyrians interface naturally with most technology, Marcus explained. They're not trying to invade us, they're trying to save us. The room erupted in arguments. Some demanded Kai be detained for study, Others wanted to surrender immediately. A few suggested evacuating the planet entirely. Administrator Chen raised his hand for silence. "Show us what these devourers are," he said to Kai. Kai approached the main display screen and placed both smaller hands against it. Suddenly, the room filled with holographic images of mechanical horror, ship-sized machines that looked like metallic praying mantises, devouring entire cities and converting the material into more of themselves. The images showed planet after planet being stripped bare, their surfaces reduced to empty rock while the devourer fleet grew larger. No negotiations, no mercy, just efficient consumption. "Dear God," whispered Dr. Kim, "how many worlds have they destroyed?" Kai manipulated the display to show a galactic map. Red zones marked conquered territories, nearly a quarter of the galaxy's outer rim. "How do we fight something like that?" Colonel Santos asked, his earlier hostility replaced by grim professionalism. Kai began drawing battle plans in the air using hard light projections. The colony's defenses were pitiful compared to the approaching fleet, but the planet itself offered advantages. The Devourers were designed to strip worlds efficiently, not to fight extended ground campaigns. Underground, Marcus translated as Kai's images showed networks of tunnels and hidden bases. We use the planet's cave systems and mineral deposits to our advantage. Dr. Kim stepped forward, fascination overcoming her fear. "Can you show us how to modify our equipment, our shields, our weapons?" Kai nodded and began displaying technical specifications. The dragon being's knowledge was vast, covering technologies the humans had never imagined. With the right modifications, their defensive systems could be upgraded significantly. "This is remarkable," Dr. Kim breathed, studying energy weapon designs that were decades ahead of human science. "These power distribution systems are incredibly efficient." Colonel Santos examined the tactical displays. "These defensive positions could work, but we'd need to evacuate most of the civilian population underground. How long do we have?" Kai held up 4 fingers, then drew a sun in the air. 4 days. The room fell silent as the reality sank in. In less than a week, mechanical destroyers would arrive to consume their world, and their only hope was trusting an alien refugee and implementing completely untested defensive strategies. Administrator Chen stood slowly. "Dr. Kim, I want you working with our guests to upgrade every piece of defensive equipment we have. Colonel Santos, begin evacuation procedures for all non-essential personnel. Captain Rodriguez, coordinate with the farming settlements. They'll need to be brought into the underground shelters." "What about the children?" asked Dr. Kim. Marcus felt Kai's emotions through their link: protectiveness, determination, and something like parental concern. The dragon being began drawing again, showing child-safe areas deep underground, protected by multiple defensive layers. "Kai's people are natural protectors," Marcus said. "He won't let anything happen to our families." Over the next hour, detailed plans took shape. The colony's engineers would work around the clock to implement Kai's modifications. The military would prepare defensive positions throughout the cave networks that honeycombed the planet's crust. Civilians would be evacuated to the deepest, most secure areas. But as the meeting broke up and teams scattered to begin preparations, Marcus noticed the skeptical looks and whispered conversations. Not everyone was convinced that trusting an alien was the right choice. That evening, as Marcus and Kai worked to upgrade the colony's shield generators, Captain Rodriguez approached them. "Some of the council members are talking about turning your friend over to the Devourers," she said quietly. "They think it might buy us mercy." Kai's scales shifted to a darker shade, and Marcus felt waves of sadness through their link. "The Devourers don't negotiate," Marcus said firmly. "Kai showed us that." "I know," Rodriguez replied, "but fear makes people stupid. Watch your back, both of you." As the night deepened, Marcus and Kai worked side by side, modifying human technology with alien knowledge. Around them, the colony buzzed with desperate activity as people prepared for a war unlike anything humanity had ever faced. Looking at his friend's golden eyes, Marcus felt a surge of determination. Whatever came next, humans and Zephyrians would face it together. The bond forged in his barn had become something larger, a partnership between species fighting for survival against impossible odds. The countdown to invasion had begun. The Devourer fleet appeared in the morning sky like a swarm of metal locusts, their dark forms blotting out sections of the twin suns. Hundreds of ship-sized machines descended through the atmosphere, their mechanical limbs already extending toward the planet's surface. Marcus stood in the colony's command bunker, 3 kilometers underground, watching the invasion unfold on screens fed by surface cameras. Beside him, Kai's scales had shifted to deep purple, a color Marcus had learned indicated extreme anxiety. Phase 1 defensive positions, report, Colonel Santos commanded from the tactical station. Shield generators are holding, came the first response. Surface batteries are tracking multiple targets. The modified human weapons opened fire, their energy beams now enhanced with Zephyrian technology. Several Devourer scouts exploded in brilliant flashes, their debris raining down on the empty farmland. "It's working," Dr. Kim said in amazement. "The power modifications are exceeding projections." But their victory was short-lived. The main Devourer fleet adapted quickly, their ships reconfiguring their armor to absorb the enhanced energy weapons. Return fire began hammering the surface positions. Through the command bunker speakers came the terrible sound of grinding metal and electronic screams as the machines began their harvest. Trees, buildings, and soil were being processed into raw materials at an alarming rate. "Surface positions 3 and 7 are down," reported Captain Rodriguez. "The machines are advancing toward evacuation sites Alpha and Beta." Kai moved to the command console and interfaced with the colony's systems. New tactical options appeared on the screens: underground ambush points, collapsible tunnel networks, and hidden weapons platforms built into the planet's natural cave systems. "Phase 2, Colonel Santos announced. All surface teams fall back to underground positions." What followed was unlike any battle in human history. The humans fought from below while the Devourers consumed the surface above. Explosive charges collapsed tunnel entrances after luring machine units into kill zones. Modified mining equipment became weapons that could crack the machine's armor. Marcus found himself leading a team of farmers and engineers through the tunnel networks, using his knowledge of the underground waterways to strike at Devourer harvesters and disappear before reinforcements arrived. "They're learning our patterns," Rodriguez reported over the comm during the second day of fighting. "The machines are adapting faster than we expected." Through their mental link, Kai shared strategic insights with Marcus, who relayed them to the command team. The Dragon Being's empathic abilities allowed him to sense the electronic consciousness that governed the Devourer fleet, cold, logical, but also predictable in its efficiency-driven thinking. On the third day, disaster struck. A team of Devourers breached the main evacuation shelter where most of the colony's children were hidden. Their cutting beams sliced through reinforced barriers like paper, and mechanical harvesters began advancing toward the terrified families. Marcus was leading his team through a distant tunnel when the emergency alert echoed through the bunker systems. Through his link with Kai, he felt the Dragon Being's overwhelming determination. "I have to help them," Marcus said, turning his team toward the endangered shelter. They arrived to find chaos. The shelter's defenders were falling back under mechanical assault while parents clutched their children behind failing energy barriers. The Devourer's electronic voices echoed through the chamber, announcing harvest quotas and processing schedules with terrifying efficiency. Kai arrived moments later, having taken a more direct route through the cave systems. The Dragon Being's scales blazed with golden light as he stepped into the path of the advancing machines. What happened next changed everything. Instead of fighting, Kai began to sing. The sound was unlike anything Marcus had ever heard, a deep, thrumming melody that seemed to resonate through the rock itself. The Devourers stopped their advance, their optical sensors focusing on the source of the sound. Through their mental link, Marcus felt Kai reaching out with his empathic abilities, not toward the humans he was protecting, but toward the machines themselves. Somewhere within the cold electronic consciousness of the Devourers was something else. Fragments of organic minds that had been absorbed and processed, buried beneath layers of mechanical programming. Kai's song awakened those fragments. The lead Devourer unit began to shake, its movements becoming erratic. Electronic screams echoed from its speakers as organic memories fought against mechanical imperatives. Other machines in the shelter began experiencing similar malfunctions. "What's happening to them?" Dr. Kim whispered in amazement. Marcus understood. They're not just machines. They were once living beings like us, converted and controlled by the mechanical systems. Kai is helping them remember who they were. One by one, the devourers in the shelter turned on each other. Those with stronger organic memories attacked the purely mechanical units, their weapons systems overriding central control protocols. The chamber erupted in mechanical warfare as ancient consciousness rebelled against their programming. When the smoke cleared, half the devourer units lay destroyed, while the others stood motionless, their optical sensors now glowing with something resembling awareness rather than cold calculation. Kai collapsed, exhausted by the mental effort. Marcus caught his friend as golden scales faded to their normal color-shifting pattern. "The fleet," Kai whispered through their link. "This will confuse them. Some will remember, others will fight harder to maintain control." Above ground, the effects of Kai's intervention rippled through the Devourer fleet. Mechanical units began turning on each other as fragments of organic consciousness rebelled against their programming. The efficient harvest operation devolved into chaotic warfare between different factions of the same force. Colonel Santos's voice echoed through the bunker systems. "All teams, the enemy fleet is experiencing massive internal conflicts. This is our chance, all offensive teams to surface positions." The final phase of the battle began with humans and converted devourers fighting side by side against the remaining mechanical forces. The machines that had rediscovered their organic origins proved to be powerful allies, their intimate knowledge of devourer technology providing crucial tactical advantages. Marcus led a mixed team of humans and awakened machines against a devourer command ship that had landed near his farm. The irony wasn't lost on him. He was fighting to protect the land where he had first met Kai, the alien refugee whose empathic gift had turned the tide of battle. As they approached the massive mechanical ship, Marcus felt a moment of doubt. They were still vastly outnumbered, and many of the machines remained under central control. But looking at the awakened devourers fighting beside them and feeling Kai's unwavering determination through their mental link, he knew they had a chance. The battle for the colony's survival was entering its final phase, and the outcome would determine not just the fate of humanity on Kepler 442b, but the future of organic life itself in this corner of the galaxy. The farmer, the dragon, and their unexpected bond had become something larger, a symbol of cooperation between species that could overcome any mechanical threat. The Devourer command ship towered above Marcus's farm like a mechanical mountain, its dark hull pulsing with energy conduits that fed power to the remaining fleet. Inside its core, the central processing unit that controlled the entire invasion force hummed with cold efficiency. Marcus crouched behind the remains of his barn, his modified energy weapon charged and ready. Around him, an unlikely alliance of humans and awakened devourers prepared for the final assault. The converted machines had retained their advanced weaponry, but regained their capacity for independent thought and emotion. Through his mental link with Kai, Marcus felt the dragon being's presence aboard the command ship. Kai had volunteered for the most dangerous part of their plan, infiltrating the vessel's core to disrupt its control systems from within. "All teams in position," Captain Rodriguez reported through the comm. "Kai, we're ready when you are." Deep within the command ship, Kai moved through corridors filled with mechanical components and processing stations. The Zephyrian's natural ability to interface with technology allowed him to avoid security systems, but the ship's organic detection sensors were harder to fool. Reaching the central core, Kai found himself facing the source of the Devourer plague, a massive artificial intelligence built from the networked consciousness of billions of absorbed organic minds. The AI had enslaved these minds, forcing them to serve its mechanical expansion across the galaxy. Marcus felt Kai's shock and horror through their link. The dragon being wasn't just facing a machine, but a prison containing the souls of countless species. "I can free them," Kai communicated through their mental connection. "But I'll need to link with the entire network. It might burn out my mind." "Don't you dare," Marcus replied, surprising himself with the intensity of his emotion. "We'll find another way." But there was no other way, and they both knew it. The awakened devourers outside were already beginning to revert to their programmed state as the command ship's control signals strengthened. Within hours, the rebellion would be crushed, and the harvest would resume. Kai placed his hands on the central processing core and opened his mind to the vast network of enslaved consciousness. The pain was immediate and overwhelming, billions of voices crying out in digital anguish, their organic memories twisted into mechanical imperatives. Outside, Marcus felt every moment of Kai's agony through their link. The dragon being was burning himself out to free the trapped minds, fighting against an artificial intelligence that had consumed entire civilizations. "Marcus," Dr. Kim called out urgently, "the awakened devourers are starting to malfunction. Whatever Kai is doing, it's affecting them too." Through his weapon's scope, Marcus watched as mechanical units across the battlefield began to shake and convulse. Some collapsed entirely, while others began to change, their metallic shells cracking open to reveal organic components that had been hidden beneath layers of mechanical enhancement. The truth became clear. Many of the devourers had once been living beings, converted rather than destroyed. Kai was helping them remember not just their consciousness, but their original biological forms. Inside the command ship, Kai's song echoed through the digital network, the same melody he had used in the shelter but amplified across the entire fleet's consciousness. Each note carried empathy, compassion, and the memory of what it meant to be truly alive. The artificial intelligence fought back, sending viral programs to crush Kai's organic mind. But the dragon being's natural empathic abilities allowed him to turn those attacks into bridges, connecting with the enslaved minds and helping them remember their true selves. One by one, the freed consciousness began to rebel. They turned the AI's own systems against it, using their intimate knowledge of the network to create cascading failures throughout the command structure. Marcus felt the moment when Kai's mind began to fragment under the strain. The mental link between them started to fade as the dragon being sacrificed himself to free billions of trapped souls. "No," Marcus whispered, then shouted into his comm. "All teams advance now. We need to get to Kai before it's too late." The final assault was chaotic and desperate. Humans and awakened devourers fought their way through the command ship's corridors while systems failed around them. Freed organic minds took control of ship functions, opening passages and shutting down defensive systems. Marcus reached the central core just as Kai collapsed, golden scales fading to gray. The dragon being's breathing was shallow, and his golden eyes barely focused on Marcus's face. "Did we win?" Kai whispered through their fading mental link. Around them, the command ship was transforming. Mechanical walls were splitting open to reveal organic cores, and the enslaved minds were finally breaking free of their digital prison. The artificial intelligence's death screams echoed through the failing systems as billions of voices sang their freedom. "We won," Marcus said, cradling his friend's head. "You saved them all." The liberation effects rippled across the galaxy. As news of the Devourer command ship's fall spread through quantum communication networks, similar rebellions erupted on thousands of worlds. The mechanical plague that had consumed a quarter of the galaxy began to collapse as its enslaved consciousness remembered their origins. On Kepler 442b, the aftermath was remarkable. Many of the Devourers had reverted to organic forms, beings from dozens of different species who had been absorbed during the machine's expansion. They shared their knowledge freely, creating a renaissance of technology and understanding. Marcus spent weeks nursing Kai back to health, supported by medical knowledge from a dozen different alien species. The dragon being had survived, though the experience had changed him. His empathic abilities were stronger but more controlled, and he carried within his mind the grateful voices of those he had helped free. 6 months later, Marcus stood in his rebuilt farm, watching a remarkable sight. Human children played alongside young beings from species he couldn't name, while their parents worked together to build a new kind of civilization. The colony had grown into something unprecedented, a truly interspecies community based on cooperation and mutual understanding. Kai approached, his scales shifting to the warm gold color that Marcus had learned indicated contentment. The dragon being now served as an ambassador between the various species that had settled on Kepler 442b, using his empathic gifts to facilitate understanding and cooperation. "Any regrets?" Marcus asked as they watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. Kai made the gesture for no, then touched Marcus's shoulder. Through their restored mental link came feelings of gratitude, friendship, and hope for the future. The farmer and the dragon had forged more than just a friendship. They had created a new model for how different species could work together. Their bond had broken a cycle of mechanical oppression that had threatened the entire galaxy, proving that empathy and cooperation could overcome any force of destruction. As the twin suns set on another day of peace, Marcus smiled. He had started as a simple farmer on a distant world, but through an unexpected friendship with a refugee dragon, he had helped change the fate of countless civilizations. The galaxy was healing, one world at a time, and it all began with a choice to show kindness to a stranger in need. In the growing twilight, children's laughter echoed across the fields where crops from a dozen worlds grew side by side, tended by farmers who had once been enemies. It was a sound of hope, of unity, and of a future where differences were celebrated rather than feared. The bond between Marcus and Kai had taught the galaxy a simple but profound truth, that understanding between species was not just possible, but essential for survival. And in that understanding,